Happy 20th anniversary, Kirby. Yes, you heard me right. It's already been 20 years for this little guy. Man, where does the time go? Since I recently cleaned my hands with my top 100, I've decided to pay attention to my 9th favorite video game franchise, the Kirby series. I mean, honestly, it's about damn time Kirby got a list of his own. Well, actually, this is the first of 3 countdowns I am dedicating to Kirby. For this momentous occasion, I will be discussing the games, the copy abilities, and even the bosses of this brilliant series. To start this off, I've decided to take a look into the most obvious thing to talk about, the games. The Kirby series truly is a unique franchise. Much like Pokemon, most of the Kirby games are released on handhelds and are generally seen as a kid's series. And much like Mario, the Kirby series is critically adored by many and always seems to take a unique twist amongst their installments. So, it's time to count down my top 10 favorite Kirby games, main series, and spin-offs. Without any more delay, let's get going. In most Kirby games, the player controls Kirby or other miscellaneous characters in a 2-dimensional perspective while murdering innocent creatures in fashions not even Jason Voorhees can pull off. But, before we get into Kirby's onslaught of terror, let's take a look at one of his spin-offs, the first of which made its way to the glorious GameCube. At number 10, we have Kirby Air Ride. Fan-base criticism set aside, putting Kirby in a racing game was pure genius. Yeah, you heard me, I like Kirby's Air Ride. Regardless of its fairly decent reception from critics, I feel as if Kirby Air Ride is one of the higher quality racers out there. While it's not my favorite racing game on the GameCube, that would be Double Dash, it definitely has its share of exhilarating features. First off, there's the standard Air Ride mode, which is basically a custom race in which the player can choose from 14 different machines and race on 9 different courses with 3 other players. It's not as hectic as other racers, but if you play with a skilled friend, it can be very fun along the way. There's also a mode called Top Ride, where you can race from an overhead perspective. It looks pretty boring, but this can still be pretty fun. Lastly, there's the City Trial mode. This is definitely my favorite mode. Basically what you do here is gather as many upgrades as you possibly can within the allotted time. Once that's over, you basically skew off from simple racing, and instead get put into an arena where you face off against the other racers. Based on what upgrades you acquired, you either get your ass kicked by the others, or you make like Bomberman and blow those bastards to bits. When I first got into this game, I played this mode for hours, so that's the one I definitely recommend. Not only is the gameplay top-notch, but there's also plenty of achievements as well as some kick-ass music. Overall, if you like racing games or simply blowing the fuck out of your friends, then look for a copy of this. Personally, I'm hoping this game gets a sequel on the 3DS. Come on, Hal. You're already taunting us with Super Smash Bros. 4, why not make us go even more crazy? Now that we've examined the thrill of Kirby's Air Ride, how about we add another spin-off onto this list? As you all know, our favorite little pink hero made his debut on the nostalgic gray brick known as the Game Boy. Sure, Kirby's Dreamland was a handheld classic, but I'm going to go with a different Game Boy title. You guessed it, at number 9 we have Kirby Tilt and Tumble. Oh my god, I love this game. This was the very first Kirby game I ever played, and it still entertains me to this day. Out of all the Kirby games, Tilt and Tumble is the most nostalgic to me. So much so that it rivals even Pokemon Silver when it comes to nostalgia. Of course, I wouldn't place a game on my list if I can't enjoy the gameplay. Thankfully, Tilt and Tumble manages to deliver a good impression in the gameplay department. Like many games in this day and age, Tilt and Tumble utilizes motion controls for its style of gameplay.
No! It burns!
Okay, just calm down. The motion controls actually work fine. Despite being made in 2001, this little pink cartridge managed to work better than our modern cutting-edge motion peripherals. I'm not sure if I should be impressed or just feel downright stupid. Moving right along, Tilt and Tumble's gameplay is exactly how you would expect it to be. You tilt your system in the direction you want Kirby to roll. And, what do you know? It works! When I first played this game, it blew my mind. Considering this was 5 years before third-party developers raped the Wii's motion capabilities, and the fact that this was a handheld, Kirby's Tilt and Tumble was definitely a video gaming marvel. Sure, the game was kinda short, and yes, there were basically only 3 bosses, But you have to look past that and think about what this game tries to achieve. Fun. Well, it certainly is a fun game, and is a must-have for any Kirby fan or Game Boy freak. Though, this leads me to wonder, why not bring Tilt and Tumble back on the 3DS? Believe it or not, the original game was supposed to have a sequel on the GameCube, but it was quietly cancelled for unknown reasons. Yeah, I know it was changed into Rolorama, but that got cancelled too. What happened? Come on, Hal, wouldn't this be a perfect opportunity to bring this spin-off back? What, you think people wouldn't be interested? Well, I'll tell you one thing, I'd buy that game, then I'd buy another copy after my first copy breaks. Come on, Hal, can't you make it happen? Okay, that's enough of my groveling. Let's move on to number 8. Well, we've already taken a look at the spin-offs, so let's dig a little deeper and move on to the main series installments. The first one being a remake, and a damn fine one at that. Next we have Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. As everyone knows, Nightmare in Dreamland is a remake of Kirby's Adventure on the NES, and the original was already damn good. For the most part, the gameplay is very similar to its original NES incarnation, as any remake should do. In combination to the updated graphics and sound, the remake also included features that definitely add to the experience. First, they included some new sub-games, my favorite of the default games being Bomb Rally. Looks pretty boring, but this can get really frantic and very, very fun. But definitely my favorite extra has to be Meta Nightmare. Basically, it's the same mode as always, but with Meta Knight. Meta Knight makes this game so damn fun to play. Flying around and chopping innocent creatures to pieces never felt so satisfying. The only downside to this mode is that you can't save at all. Not too much of a problem, but it would have been nice to have the option. As for the story, Kirby has to venture through Dreamland and restore everyone's dreams by traveling to the Fountain of Dreams and defeating the evil Nightmare. Through the abilities in this game, we see a lot of classics return, such as Fire, Beam, as well as unique ones like UFO and Laser. Revamp some great boss battles and kick-ass remixes, and man, you got yourself a great remake. I should also mention that Nightmare in Dreamland has my favorite remix of King Dedede's theme in it, which all of you are listening to at this moment. Overall, there's nothing too special about Nightmare in Dreamland, but it still manages to be a damn good Kirby game, and one of the best remakes I have yet to see. Definitely one of the more classic Game Boy Advance titles. Knowing they had a knack for creating unique gameplay mechanics, HAL had a lot of potential coming up with games for the DS when it was first announced. Aside from Alpha Dream, HAL was the company that pushed the limitations to the DS through the roof. What that resulted in is the strangest and one of the most addicting Kirby titles to date. This one also happens to be the one I most recently played. At number 7 we have Kirby Mass Attack. This is one clever game. The main idea goes like this. One day, Kirby was napping on some grass and minding his own business, and all of a sudden, a big scary motherfucker warps in and splits you into 10 different Kirbys. Silly Kirby, didn't your mother always tell you not to fall asleep near an all-powerful god of death? Oh, she did? Well, that probably explains why you ate her. All I have to say is, way to go, Necrotius. You just fucked Dreamland up more so than ever. I mean, sure, a big menacing god of death making the sky go dark is pretty scary, but if you compare that to the fact that there are now 10 Kirbys on a rampage, you don't even compare. Now that Kirby has split into 10, the gameplay that we all know and love is given a complete overhaul. While Kirby Mass Attack is technically another Kirby platformer, there are a few fundamental differences that make it completely different from all the other games in the series. Like Canvas Curse, the game is completely controlled through touchscreen commands. If you wish to move Kirby, just touch the area where you want him to go. Simple as that. To add more Kirbys to your gang, just eat 100 pieces of fruit and Viola. So the gameplay is definitely unique among other installments. It's simple, but it works. Now, unless you count Rape Kirby, there are no copy abilities in this game whatsoever. Instead, Kirby and his 9 new friends scurry around Dreamland in search of new friends. Oh my god! That's horrible! Never mind swallowing them, just beat them to death and painfully pile drive them straight into hell. Tell me again why this game is called Kirby Mass Attack. The title is a little misleading, don't you think? Call this game for what it is, Kirby's Epic Rape Fest. Well, now I'm just blabbing, so let's wrap this up. With unique gameplay, great music, some awesome boss battles, and the sheer joy of gangbanging your enemies, Kirby Mass Attack is definitely worth your time. If you wish to take a break from the traditional platforming, then give this one a roll because this game owns. Continuing this pattern of awesome handheld Kirby games, we have the last Kirby game made for the Game Boy Advance, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. This is, without doubt, the strangest and most different installment of the handheld platformers. But as I exemplified before, being different is not a bad thing. Well, Amazing Mirror managed to do everything right and even more. Unlike most Kirby games, the setting of this particular game is actually not Dreamland, but rather the strange and dangerous parallel universe called the Mirror World. Long story short, Kirby gets split into 4 different Kirbys and has to venture into the Mirror World in order to retrieve all 8 Mirror Shards and restore peace to the Mirror World. Once you take your first step into the Mirror World, you'll notice a glaring difference. Unlike other Kirby games, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror features a maze-like layout. It is very non-linear, allowing the player to explore the Mirror World freely. This new non-linear style of gameplay was definitely the biggest difference with this game. Some people hated it, others loved it. Well, I for one loved this alteration and new non-linear feel. Playing this, I feel like I'm playing a good old-fashioned Metroid platformer, but with 4 Kirbys along for the ride. And if you all know me, you would know that I feel right at home with this style, and I've loved every second of it. But don't let this change in gameplay lose your interest. This game still manages to pack a massive punch of win when concerning platforming bliss. If you love Nightmare or Dreamland, you will absolutely adore this one. Like Nightmare and Dreamland, Amazing Mirror has superb world design and some really good boss battles. But I'll talk about those a little later. And what's a Kirby platformer without some awesome copy abilities? Amazing Mirror brought back a lot of classic abilities, like Laser and Wheel. But it also brought some new abilities to the table. These new abilities include Cupid, Magic, Missile, and even Smash, most of which are very fun to play with. This game also has a 4-player co-op mode. While it may not be the best co-op in the series, I have to confess, playing with one other friend is actually kind of fun, but I wouldn't call it a promising feature. Overall, if you're looking for a Kirby game on the Game Boy Advance, this is the one I recommend the most. Seriously, even if you don't typically care for non-linear gameplay, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror will just suck you in. Okay, I know this list is Kirby related, but I seriously did not notice I made a really shitty pun. Oh well, at least I'm consistent.